Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and it is time for our first review of 2023. And we're kicking off the month and the year with the review of Rent, starring Anthony Rapp, Adam Pascal, Rosario Dawson, Jesse L. Martin, Wilson Germain Heredia, Taye Diggs, Idina Menzel, Tracy Toms, and Aaron Lohr. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, we're kicking off the new month, the new year. It's a new theme here on the channel. And this month, I'm stepping way outside of my comfort zone, and I'm doing a month of musicals. It is no secret I am not the biggest musical fan. There are some musicals that I've seen in the past that I do enjoy, and some of those are going to be represented here this month. And then there's some other ones that I've never seen or just never really been anything that appealed to me that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to take a look at this month and I'm going to give a chance to and review. Maybe there's a certain actor in there that appeals to me and is what's making me want to sit down and watch it. Maybe I've heard a song from the musical that kind of got my toe tapping and I was like, okay, well, if this song is okay, maybe I'll enjoy the rest of the movie and the score. We're just going to have to play everything by ear and see how it goes though, because again, this is way outside of my wheelhouse. This is definitely not my cup of tea. So bear with me here. But we're kicking it off. It is the second of the month. And generally, come the first of the month, the rent is due. But the first was a Sunday. I don't do reviews on Sunday. So the first review of the month and the year is the film adaptation of Rent. And our movie opens on Christmas Eve as aspiring filmmaker Mark Cohen and his roommate Roger Davis learn that the rent that was previously waived by their old friend turned landlord Benjamin Coffin III, or Benny, is now due. Their former roommate, Tom Collins, shows up and he gets mugged. Mark and Roger go and they meet with Benny, who tells them that he plans to evict all of the homeless from the nearby lot and build a cyber studio. He offers them free rent, but only if they can get Maureen, Mark's ex girlfriend, to cancel her protest against his plans. But they refuse. Meanwhile, a street drummer named Angel finds Collins and they bond since they are both HIV positive. Roger, who is also HIV positive, as well as a former drug addict, attempts to compose his one last great psalm when he is visited by his downstairs neighbor, Mimi, an exotic dancer and heroin addict who tries to talk Roger into doing heroin with her, despite her own HIV status. On Christmas Day, Mark and Roger are visited by Collins and Angel, who is now in full drag, and they come bearing gifts. They invite Mark and Roger to attend Life Support, an AIDS support group. Roger turns them down, while Mark goes to fix Maureen's sound equipment. He ends up running into Joanne, Maureen's new girlfriend, who bonds with them as they discuss Maureen's promiscuity. Mark arrives at the life support meeting and he proceeds to film the meeting for a documentary that he's making about people living with HIV and AIDS. Mimi visits Roger, whose ex girlfriend committed suicide after discovering that they were both HIV positive. Roger rebukes Mimi's advances and throws her out. The next day, he joins Mark, Collins, and Angel at a life support meeting. Upon leaving the meeting, the group imagines what it would be like to just up and move to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Roger and Mark leave to go help Maureen set up for her performance that evening, while Angel and Collins reveal that they are falling in love. Maureen performs her song, which calls out Benny for changing who he once was after he got married, and blames him for trying to shut down Tent City. The performance ends up starting a riot because Benny called in the police in order to make sure that the protest stayed peaceful, but instead it escalated into violence. Once the protest is over, the group goes to the Life Cafe and celebrates the fact that Mark sold his riot footage to a local news station. Roger and Mimi reveal that they are falling in love with each other, and they reveal to each other that they are HIV positive. They kiss start a relationship, and continue to celebrate with their friends. On New Year's Day, Benny has padlocked the apartment, but Angel breaks the lock with a garbage can. Mark takes a job at Buzzline, the television news program that sold his riot footage to. After another fight, Maureen proposes to Joanne, but the relationship ends when Maureen flirts with another woman at the engagement party. After being persuaded by Mimi, his ex girlfriend, Benny gives the group back their apartment. Over the following year, Roger grows distrustful of Mimi due to her massive use of drugs, and their relationship comes to an end. Angel becomes more ill and succumbs to AIDS. At Angel's funeral, which is held on Halloween, the group goes their separate ways after a very bitter argument, although Maureen and Joanne reconcile in the process. Roger sells his guitar, buys a car, and moves to Santa Fe. However, he soon returns to New York because he still loves Mimi. Meanwhile, Mark quits his job at Buzzline in order to pursue his own documentary film. On Christmas Eve 1990, Mark and Roger reunite with Collins, who reveals that he has reprogrammed an ATM to dispense cash whenever someone inputs the code ANGEL. Joanne and Maureen find Mimi on the streets, near death. Roger and Mimi are able to reconcile, and he sings the psalm that he has written over the past year. Mimi appears to die, but she suddenly awakens. When she comes to, she tells the group that as she was heading towards the light, Angel told her to go back. As Mark's documentary is shown for the first time, the friends reaffirm that there is no day but today, and our movie comes to its end. Okay, in all honesty here, after that long drawn out introduction I gave at the start of the episode, this musical is one that I've seen a couple times before and I do enjoy. However, this film in of itself is close to 20 years old, and I've only seen it within the last 5 to 6 years. And a lot of what allowed me to sit down and give this one a chance comes down to one actress in particular, Idina Menzel. Now, it's no secret how much of a Disney nut I am. I had seen Frozen. I had heard Idina as Queen Elsa singing Let It Go, Into the Unknown, etc. And I wanted to see and get to know more of Idina's filmography, if you will. I knew she was a Broadway performer, but I didn't know a whole lot of what she had done movie wise. Realized that she had been in Enchanted, but they didn't let her sing for whatever reason. And then I saw that this was on there. And I look at the rest of the cast and I'm like, okay, so we've got Idina Menzel, Rosario Dawson. Yes, please. Taye Diggs. Okay, so there's some names here I'm recognizing. Let's give this a try. And I watched it. And at first, I didn't really know what to think of it. But as the story progressed and you got more invested in these characters' lives, the more my walls came down about it, and I really started to enjoy myself. And then out of nowhere, Aaron Lore pops up. And to me, Aaron Lore will always be Dean Portman from the Mighty Ducks franchise. I also saw him as Mickey Dolenz in Daydream Believers, the Monkees movie, and he was also the singing voice for Max Goof in the Goofy movie. So here he is out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, you know, see where this goes. And despite the fact that he was 10 years older, more or less, since the last time I had seen him, facially looked pretty much the same. You could see some aging on him, but I just looks exactly the way I saw him last. So as soon as he popped up, I'm like, I know that face. So there was another thing now that's drugged me into this, And now here we are, some almost 20 years later from this movie being made. Idina Menzel and Aaron Law are married to each other in real life. Originally, she was married to Taye Diggs off the heels of this, and they had some kids together. And now she's married to Aaron Law. Okay, you go, Idina. But when it comes to the meat and potatoes of the story, you really just have this whole trying to deal with the epidemic that is, was, and eternally will be HIV and AIDS in the late 80s, early 90s, when we're still getting a lot of information about that. You know, when this starts, Christmas of 89, you got to figure Freddie Mercury is still alive, Eazy-E is still alive, Magic Johnson hasn't been diagnosed yet. Philadelphia, the movie, is still a couple years away. By the time this movie ends in Christmas of 90, I believe we've lost Freddie Mercury, but we still have Eazy-E. We still have Magic Johnson hasn't been diagnosed yet, and Philadelphia is still a couple years away. And those are the things I always think of when I think about time frame for AIDS and coverage and publicity about HIV and AIDS are those main moments, because those are the things that really brought HIV and AIDS to the forefront en masse for me growing up. Was the death of Freddie Mercury, Magic Johnson being diagnosed, the death of Eric Eazy-E Wright. And then the movie Philadelphia, like I said, that was 92, 93, where Tom Hanks portrayed a gay man suffering from and who died from HIV and AIDS. So you put those four things into a cauldron and you can kind of get your time capsule of, we're talking about this matter and it still hasn't even gripped the world the way it would a few years prior. Now, granted, the movie is from the mid 2000s, long after all that stuff took place. The play itself debuted on Broadway in the mid 90s. So that stuff had just happened when this play actually debuted on Broadway. But the play is set before and just after some of those events happened. So that's why I'm comparing those things in the grand scheme of the production and the play and the musical here. When it comes to my rating for Rent, I give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I do enjoy it. It's a solid musical. It's one I can watch on a regular basis. The songs are good. The actors are good. The story is good. It's just an all-around solid performance movie piece. Time capsule. What do you guys think of Rent, the musical? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right here to the Casa D18 Studios channel, as we open the doors for the first time of the year for Stat Boys Sports Bar, featuring Dory Lou. The food is hot, the beer is ice cold, and the seats are warm, so pull up a bar stool and engage in some professional sports conversation. And then, later on that evening, it is the return of the flagship show, Talk Wrestling, or Anything, with Jeff Meacham, beginning at 7:05 Pacific, 10:05 Eastern, both here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as well as over on the Jeff Meacham Network. You don't want to miss out on any of that coverage right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. The month and the year is just beginning. So make sure that you tune in and you engage with me and you enjoy all the content that'll be coming over the course of the year. Also, make sure you smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Statboy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles, fans of musicals, fans of Rent the Musical, fans of Idina Menzel, Taye Diggs, Rosario Dawson, anybody else that you can think of that would enjoy this content in my videos, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to boost my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms so I can eventually get monetized, make some money on this channel. Thank you once again to everyone who joined me and tuned in today. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And I will see you guys next time.